Hey everyone, Saturday, January 16th, 2021. Raptors now sitting at 4-8, still 12th in the Eastern Conference with a 116-113 win over the Charlotte Hornets. And Raptors come in here and they take two games at home to Charlotte. And what ended up happening was it was another close game, a little bit closer definitely than it should have, but we really got to see Kyle Lowry's championship pedigree, his clutch shooting, and there was a shot late in the game where there's pick and roll. I want to say it was Rozier that was guarding him, and then after, for some reason, he had a switch on Gordon Hayward. Did kind of like a jab step, ended up hitting a step back 18-footer, and that put the Raptors up maybe, I believe it was 2 points. It's tied game at that point. And that was just so important for this team. As we know, they scored today, but looking to get tough baskets towards the end of the game. Kyle was able to answer the bell because Pascal didn't have his greatest game today, 4 for 14, with 9 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. But got to give props to Norm because Norm really came to play today, probably Raptors' best player, season high 24. And he had some questionable decisions when he had the ball, but I want to say he hit 6 threes today, and the Raptors really need all of those. Kyle, 19, 6, and 6, usual self there. But, they got a really feisty Charlotte team that, had started off the season a lot better than people had expected. But, 24 from Rozier, PJ Washington looks like a stud, 14 and 12. I think they got him 12th overall a year or so ago. And Gordon Hayward, like a lot of people had questions about him when he signed that massive deal in Charlotte, especially coming off that injury with Boston a few years ago, and then kind of being that third wheel behind Jaylen Brown and Tatum in Boston. But the guy's been an absolute stud on both ends of the floor. It looks like the athleticism and the confidence is coming back, leading that team. Devontae Graham with 20, and then Biz had a decent game defensively anyway, 6 and 11. LaMelo Ball, not as good as he was in the first game, but still decent for a rookie, 11 and 5. Baines, Raptors still looking for some kind of stability, anything at the center position, and they didn't get any of that today. But once again, Chris Boucher coming off the bench, 30 minutes, dropping 20 and 9, altering a lot of shots. Hit some big free throws late towards the end of the game, and was pretty instrumental in helping the Raptors kind of have some tight defense towards the end of the game, and also just hit some clutch shots. Got to give some props to Stanley Johnson as well. Only 13 minutes, but he came in as a sub defensively at times, and really good on a switch towards the end of the game when Charlotte kind of ran a pick and roll, and he played some amazing defense. I want to say it was Terry Rozier was looking for a foul at the end of the game, and a few other occasions when Stanley Johnson was guarding him, and just played some really good defense, didn't bite on any kind of fakes. Was really good. OG Anunoby today, 18 points, 7 for 13, and then hitting 4 threes. I want to say he's been shooting like 60% from 3 from the last few games. And with, if you're going to leave him open in the corner and ask him not to do too much, not put the ball on the floor, he's really going to succeed in that role, and that's what he's been doing. Malachi Flynn also, 18 minutes, 5 points. Stats weren't incredible, but I liked his game today. Saw a little bit of confidence. And the Raptors doing a better job recently getting to the line. I know they had some massive problems getting to the line, but 23 out of 26 for free throw attempts, and shooting the 21 threes they hit today out of 49. It's still a shitload of threes, way more than they or any team really should be taking. With their lack of creativity on the offensive end, which I've talked about before, it was nice to see some shots finally go in today. So Raptors, like I said, 4th win today, still on the outside of the playoff picture looking in, with a very tough schedule coming up. We talked about it a few times, going to play Luka and the Mavs, 2 games with Miami, who's been underwhelming. I expected them to have a bit of a hangover after one of the finals last year, but they've been bad. But then again, with COVID and all the injuries, guys sitting out, it's been really difficult. Indiana, honestly, might be one of the better teams in the league this year. They've been incredible. They've got a big matchup with the Clippers tomorrow, which I'm going to be paying attention to. They're sitting at 8 and 4, third in the East. And I know they just got rid of Oladipo, but they're bringing in LeVert, and LeVert's going to miss some time with some kind of kidney ailment that they said that they have to take a look at. But Brogdon's been incredible. Sabonis seems to be a lock for the All-Star team. He's like, I don't want to say MVP candidate, but like the guy's been playing out of his mind. Probably the best post player in the league. Really good with the dribble handoff. Post moves out of this world. He's got the best post moves that I've seen in a while. The only other guy really is like Embiid and Jokic, but at that 4 position, he's been incredible. Miles Turner playing like a defensive player of the year, challenging every shot, staying healthy so far. Knock on wood. Hopefully, he can keep it together. But Raptors do have a tough schedule coming up with those 2 games there as well. I want to talk a bit about James Harden. Now, due to COVID and everything, not having anybody over, can't get Igor in on this, but we had talked about it before, and I'll get his idea on this. But Igor wasn't really liking the trade. He doesn't think it's going to work. I have more of a bigger problem. James Harden today, by the way, dropped a triple-double, 30-point triple-double with Kyrie still out. And score there was 122 to 115. Brooklyn over the Magic. Magic been terrible. They started off the season a little bit better, but 6 and 7, and they losing Fultz for the season was kind of a big blow to them too. But Harden today 32, 12, 14. DeAndre Jordan, his usual terrible self at center. That's where the Nets are really gonna have some problems. Losing Jared Allen. Now I know that he was a free agent at the end of the season. He's gonna get a lot of money because one of the best rim protectors in the league, pick and roll defenders. The guy just does a bit of everything. Best rebounders. They're going to really miss him inside. Now, Durant is, to be honest, their best rim protector that they have right now. He dropped 42 points today. Now, I know that the Nets didn't have too many bodies today. They traded away a lot of pieces in that deal. Jeff Green ended up starting 10 and 4. He caught a nice lob from Harden, almost like a half-court pass. But like I said, that's really going to be the biggest thing for them is who's going to be able to defend for this team. Now, Joe Harris, I like his game a lot. One of the best role players I guess you can find in the league. Not being paid like a role player, would be paid a lot of money, but 17 today. They're going to need him to space the floor. Now, the biggest question a lot of people have with Harden and Kyrie and Durant and really thinking, is this going to work out, is really more so the fit of, I guess, just Kyrie Irving. Is he going to be able to play off the ball? We've seen Durant do it in Golden State. These are 3 guys with some of the highest usage rates, maybe in NBA history, especially with Harden. I believe that statistically him and Westbrook have been. The thing that I like about all 3 of these guys is they're very high percentage 3-point shooters and just very high IQ players. They can make the passes. Now, a lot of people are kind of worried about how's this going to work in the playoffs, who's going to get the last shot. The thing that I was thinking too is when you are trying to guard a team like this, kind of think of it as football. When you have a team like Kansas City Chiefs and you're throwing out 3-4 wide receivers that are, elite to above average, the other team that has to cover you really has to, they really struggle, any team, offense, in any sport, basketball, football, to get defenders to be able to cover that kind of speed and skill. Look at a team like the Raptors. Like, they have pieces, but that's one of the few teams that has a lot of wing defenders that are kind of capable. But you're going against 3 of the best scorers in the league currently, 2 of the best scorers of all time, in Durant and James Harden, and it's going to be really tough because I understand that people are kind of worried about the fit, the mesh, all that kind of stuff. But when even Miami Heat had LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh all in their prime. The thing that was interesting was, they started off like 8 and 10, I want to say, 10 and 10, they were 500, and people had a lot of questions. If you remember back then, it was a while ago, but what happened was the talent always rises to the top in the NBA. There's been very few occasions where, teams of that much talent with guys that can shoot. Now, I know that the Lakers are the one team when Steve Nash went there, Dwight Howard with Kobe 6-7 years ago, that didn't end up working out. But these guys, I honestly think that if they don't make it at least to the Eastern Conference Final, it's a waste of a season. And to be honest, they might have one of the better chances in the league of actually winning the title because really, who's standing in their way? Milwaukee hasn't been great. A lot of teams, to be honest, haven't been great, including the Nets themselves. Just due to the COVID protocols, teams, not really, a lot of postponed games. When it comes down to it, what team really is going to be pushing the Nets? Other than, like I said, maybe the Bucks. Boston's had flashes. They look pretty decent. Miami definitely doesn't look like the same team. Toronto's out. Indiana's a team that might sneak up, like I said, on a lot of teams because, both offensive and defensive side of the ball, they're really stout. But then again, in the West, other than the Lakers, we've seen the Clippers not really show their best. This season it's been really tough because they've won games that, they've blown out a lot of teams, but they've also had a lot of subpar performances in their losses. Now, I get it. You can't win every game. But at the same time, you want to kind of carry some kind of positive, play and energy going into the playoffs, because last year going into the bubble, the Clippers themselves were one of the worst. I guess one of the worst teams in terms of chemistry. Like you could actually see it when Harold didn't want to play, and we see how important that is with a team, like the Lakers and LeBron James. Just that camaraderie, guys that want to play for each other, fight through a pick and not die, like we've seen James Harden do before. And that's really getting back to that. And that's my only question, is not offensively, is just on the defensive side of the ball. Can any of these guys commit to playing defense for the rest of the season, at least in the playoffs? Because it's been James Harden. All you need to do is watch. If you know basketball, you watch a game, and the guy's giving absolutely zero effort. Now I know that for a few times I've gone on this with a few friends. He's played really good in the post as a defender. Now, similar to Kyle Lowry, very strong lower body, and he's going to hold guys that are trying to post him up. They're not going to be able to get by him. They might settle for a fadeaway jumper, and people are going to say, "Oh, the guy's playing good defense." I've never seen a player die on a screen in the NBA of any caliber that I have with James Harden. So it's going to be interesting to see how Steve Nash can kind of rally these guys. I don't even want to get into the Kyrie Irving stuff, because there's this fine line of everybody talking about, his personal life and what's going on. And I've argued with my boy Jordan about this. Now, I'm not here to say, pick your battles or what you're going to fight for, whether it be politically and everything that's going on in the world right now. But if you want to sit out the season, you want to, start gathering some people to protest what's going on in the world. No problem, all the power to you. That being said, the analogy I made is that, let's say you have a job and you don't show up for work for a day or two. You don't even call in sick, right? Your boss is kind of going to wonder what's going on. Then you kind of say, "Oh, hey, I haven't been feeling too good. I'm not going to make it in today." And then you kind of just leave them in the wind. There's really no contact, because we've heard that there hasn't been much contact with Kyrie and the Nets. And at one point, your bosses kind of be like, "Hey, like, are you coming back or not?" and Kyrie Irving, to this point, has not really said too much. Now, the league's been investigating to see like what's going on, because he was at like a family gathering, no mask, everybody's really close. And the thing with Kyrie that's always been very difficult is he's almost like a child, where he's going to try and manipulate his parents. When something's not going his way and he wants to make some kind of excuse, he'll turn his story to benefit him in this situation. So, for example, like Kyrie, doesn't want to play basketball for a bit, didn't want to go to the bubble either. Stay home, that's fine. But at the same time, you can't have your cake and eat it too. If you want to stay home, stay home. But then, all of a sudden James Harden comes, you're fist pumping, and you want to get back at it. And he's like, "Okay, guys, I'm coming back." The league and the team are kind of like dealing with a child at this point. So just to finish that up, it's just, if you want to play ball, come back and play ball, do your job, because you're being paid like $30 million to do this. You don't want to? Cool. Sit at home, collect your money. You've been fined already. But just respect your teammates, respect all the work that they've put in, be transparent with them, because he hasn't been this entire season, hasn't been for a majority of his career. If you recall, with the with the Cavs before he was traded to the Celtics, he threatened to have arthroscopic knee surgery if they were not going to trade him. As you guys know, I'm not the biggest LeBron fan from a personality standpoint, but like if you've pissed off LeBron and gone against a lot of players respect him in the league for obvious reasons, I'm just kind of wondering like where you stand in this league in terms of friendships, trust, all these kind of things. The Sage, like the way the Sage incident, like there's just so many things where I'm just like, this guy's like a grown man trapped in a child's body making these decisions. And it's very tough, because in the NBA there's just so much player empowerment that teams unfortunately are willing to put up with a lot of bullshit. You can act like a child, and you really get away with murder. We saw that with James Harden. I had talked about this months ago. Once like the off season was there, and he was already partying with a few rappers, putting money, throwing money around strip joints, partying at clubs, and clearly being overweight. And I had said, the same thing that Shaq said. Not like I'm here, trying to take dibs or whatever, but I had said this before, that they did everything they could. Coach he wanted, style he wanted, ISO ball, everybody standing in the corner. Get all Eric Gordon, PJ Tucker, bring in all these guys, bring in Dwight Howard in his prime, didn't work out. Bring in Chris Paul, arguably the best point guard of all time, top 5 easily. And you force him out of there because his leadership skills just suck. Not Chris Paul, James Harden. You ask for Westbrook because you're like running out of ideas. And then after all these guys kind of leave, you're staring, and I do the Fresh Prince meme where Will's kind of looking around when everybody has already moved out, he's stuck in the house, and you're just kind of thinking like, okay, like the GM's gone, the coach is gone, all my friends are gone, I've traded away everybody, we have no assets anymore, and here I am. And before everybody kind of figures out, oh shit, it's me that had failed multiple times in the playoffs, not really in the regular season, but just in the playoffs when things matter. He's trying to, the similar to Kyrie, kind of throw a little temper tantrum and say, get me out of here. It's kind of run his course and been disrespectful to his friends, teammates, cousins, John Wall, like all these guys, Christian Wood, that, obviously coming back from significant injuries, invested in his team. And there's just so much childish bullshit that's happening with all these players in the NBA. And the fact that you can pull these temper tantrums, get traded to, where you want to go and really not face any kind of repercussions is kind of insane. But this is where the NBA is, and just in terms of, there's not too many superstars in the league, and if you get to that level, like I said, you could really get away with murder. So that's the unfortunate thing, but just kind of to wrap that up, Nets definitely, I don't think that, I was talking with Igor about this, if the season's done, the Nets get to the finals and even end up winning it, can you really look around and say, oh, that was a little bit surprising? Now, due to the Kyrie stuff and the fit, a lot of people have questions, and I wanted to do a podcast before this first game, but regardless, James Harden came out, like I said, dropped 30, 14, and 11, and looked incredible. But I don't think that if the team ends up winning the championship, we're going to come back and say, oh, damn, I should have saw that coming. If it's the Lakers and the Nets in the finals, it's going to be incredible to see KD go against LeBron again in the championship. To be honest, I'd like to see the Nets win because I just think it would be really cool, like for a team that, went all in. I don't want to see James Harden win a title, so it's very difficult for me to kind of make this decision because I used to like him a lot, but he's made it really hard to like him. But the Lakers just look unstoppable right now, to be honest. They're kind of like just waiting for the regular season to end and get to the playoffs, which kind of dominate, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens with them. And I'd like to see, like I said, Brooklyn get there. If I could, I really like to see Giannis do it because he just kind of re-upped, and every team around him is getting better between like I said, Boston, Miami, Indiana, Brooklyn. There's just so many teams threatening and knocking on that door. He hasn't even gone to a finals yet. So for his own player development, I'd like to see him win the championship. But that being said, I'm going to wrap this up and come back with a podcast later this week to touch on the Raptors and see how they're doing. I still think with the Raptors, it's a bit of a wait and see kind of approach. I'm not really sold on them making the playoffs because, like I said, there's just so many teams to jump, and like I said, the games, they've been in a lot of games. They've been a few possessions. Pascal missed those 2-game winners, could have went either way. But just the fact that they're with so many teams like Charlotte, who's clearly, we thought going into the season not on the same level as them, but you're kind of going into every game now kind of fighting from behind. You have a big lead like they did today, coughing it up, going down 10 in the third. I just need to see more from this team. I need to see more from the center position. I need to see more consistency from guys like Norman OG. And like I said, Kyle's been consistent all season. Once again, today was consistent. Fred's been consistent. And Pascal as well. Like he had the terrible start to the season, sandwiched with a few better games. And now, like I said, the production wasn't really there today. And being paid as a max player, you can't really kind of say, okay, like we're going to wait around and see a little bit. We need to see this every game. And it's not like I'm, here lighting a fire under it necessarily, but he's, like 26, 27 years old. We need to see more production. And I think that's kind of fair. So that being said, I'm going to wrap this up and I will chat with you guys later this week. Have a good one. Take care.